I'm Calvin Austin III, wide receiver for the University of Memphis.
It's Anthony Sane for Sports 66 Mornings.
This is Rodney Williams, tight end for the Denver Broncos.
This is Tommy Hayes.
This is EJ Manuel, and you're listening to No Cap Sports.
With No Cap Sports.
And the No Cap Sports.
No Cap Sports, three of the hardest grinding brothers in the business.
Good morning. We got breaking news here at No Cap Sports. And if you haven't heard, Damian Lillard got traded to a team in the city that starts with an M. And no, it's not Miami. Damian Lillard is a Milwaukee Buck. So Damian Lillard trade goes down yesterday. The Bucks get Damian Lillard. Blazers get Drew Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, Tumani Kamara, a 2029 first-round Bucks pick, and a Bucks pick swap. And the Suns come in, get Yusef Nurkic, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen. So first, just looking at this trade, how do y'all feel about the value that Portland was able to get for Damian Lillard?
For me, Gobert really messed up the trade market in terms of just the value. Talk about the first round picks and just making that type of package unattainable despite the quality of the guy. I think that 10 times out of 10, 100 times out of 100, all of us will take Damian Lillard over Gobert. But just looking at the trade package and seeming player value, obviously they got more. I don't think Utah got a player back as good as Drew Holiday. But in terms of those pick values, it's up in the air. But his market was definitely limited just because of how narrow his the team that he wanted to go to were. But it was an interesting thing to where we've talked about a lot that the player power movement has kind of swung too far in the wrong direction. But I think that with the KD deal and Brooklyn not backing down, and now with Portland not just giving in right to what Dame wants, it's kind of inching towards that way to where these guys or these $200 million guys don't have this pure authority over where they can go in the same way. So I was surprised to see Dame go to Milwaukee. It looked like Toronto was gaining some steam. I think they value OG and Anunoby probably too much at this point for me. But it seemed like as much as you're gonna get with a superstar deal, kind of even. Like I think everybody walks away happy. The Suns were tired of DeAndre Ayton. I think that they got rid of him. I think for the Blazers, they're gonna get an asset in Drew Holiday that they're gonna be able to flip and get some significant value for. So in terms of like these big blockbuster trades, everybody walks away relatively happy and kind of gets what they need out of it.
Yeah, man, I agree. For Portland, they got just as good as it's gonna get for them. Getting rid of a superstar, they got a number one overall pick who his teammates hated on him last year, but he gave him 18 and 10. He's not even in his prime yet. How was he? 23, maybe 24.
Yeah.
So with that being said, man, 18 and 10 as a 23-year-old big. He's probably honestly, you got about 3 really elite centers, and then after that, it's really just pick whoever you like. He's up there. He's definitely top 10 center, maybe even top 5, depending on who you like. So for them to get a big to pair with Scoot, they're both young. They're both going to grow together, pause. But with that being said, Milwaukee, they're really top heavy. Honestly, they remind me of the Suns, the team that they traded with, man. The starting lineup is going to be really good. Once you hit that bench, it's going to be kind of weak. And I think the Suns answered their bench questions. Grayson Allen is a very underrated pickup, man.
He's the perfect 3-and-D for Phoenix.
So literally at the end, Grayson Allen very possibly could be in the game at the end of the game for the Suns this upcoming season. Once we get to May, once we get to April, once we get to playoff time, I think all 3 teams they got what they needed.
Yeah, and kind of talking about the Suns a little bit since you brought up Grayson Allen. I feel like the Suns being part of this trade was, in a sense, to me, was a shocker. Like, we've heard that they wanted Nurkic over the past couple of days. They were looking at the Nurkic, Aiden swap. But the fact they got themselves involved in this trade, I guess, really works out for them better in the long term, considering getting Dame out of the West. But swapping Aiden for Nurkic, that kind of raised some question marks for me, because this is going to be a Suns team that gets up and down the court, a lot of transition ball, a lot of fast pace. We know they're going to employ a smaller lineup with Brad Beal coming over. And I don't know if Nurkic fits that style of play. But for Aiden, like you said, I think he's a perfect fit in Portland for a young team, a young backcourt. You mentioned Scoot. They also got Shaden Sharp, Anthony Simons. But I think Portland's building a nice young core up there with those three, and then whatever assets they get back from the Drew Holiday trade.
The thing with Portland, I honestly feel like the only untouchable is Scoot. Anybody else can be traded at any time.
They wouldn't trade Sharp or Simons. I ain't gonna lie.
They would ship Simons out tomorrow. He might be shipped out before the season starts. I can't lie to you.
I mean, they got a lot. I don't know. They got a lot of guards, but it's just in terms of what he was able to do last year with Dame out, especially during that last stretch of the season. Like,
yeah,
I don't think you would get a decent value for what he is even now, and then what he could potentially be. Like, it'll be a little tough. But like I said, I don't know what state they're in terms of trying to win. Honestly, like you said, you got Scoot, you got all these young guards, you got Aiden, who, like you said, kind of blew up on that finals run versus Milwaukee. But in terms of playing winning basketball, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest reasons the Suns got rid of him, is that he's not just your traditional center in the way that, protects the rim, physical rebound, things like that, I guess, that you would get from like a traditional, finals, best center on a championship team type of deal. So I think for them, it's going to be all prospect development. So you got, like I said, you got Simons, you got Scoot, you got, like I said, whatever you get back from Drew Holiday. I mean, I'm imagining at least a starter or two or upper echelon players. And it'll be like a stratifying thing. Whoever develops out of that crop, they'll be the best player, and then they'll kind of work around that.
Now to kind of refocus on Dame, because obviously this whole trade is all about him. He goes to a Bucks team to form a big three with Giannis and Chris Middleton.
My first pick gonna be Damian Lillard.
And to Vance's point, this is a pretty top-heavy roster. Looking at 9 total guys on the roster right now, only one with the last name Antetokounmpo that got rid of his other brothers, apparently. So, looking at this roster, will this roster lead to Dame making his first finals appearance?
I would say so. I think the one thing, just how they're currently constructed right now with just the way that the league is going right now, these big three teams with limited depth is kind of the way it goes. Look at Brooklyn, you look at teams that KD was on, the Phoenix. But even in general, like, you're not...
Those teams haven't made the finals yet, by the way, but continue.
Well, no, that's true. I'm just saying a roster construction, the way that, depth in a bench is, obviously not prioritizing the same that it was, the way it was back in the past. So it's not like, it's the thing that I would question, but it's also not as big as a deal because everybody is not Denver. And you got a lot more teams that have that, are facing that same problem when we talk about bench depth. For me, talk about a guy in Chris Middleton, I just wonder about how much his usage is going to decrease, and he just signed 3 for $93, I think, last year. Will you be willing to pay the third guy on your team whose value is drastically reduced with what Dame brings in with that on-ball creation and those clutch moments and pick and roll stuff? I just wonder, like, as the season goes on, like I said, will you really just want him standing in the corners, become more of a catch and shoot guy? Will he be able to take over some of that defensive, like the defensive point of attack stuff that Drew Holiday did? I just really want to see what he does for them and how his role evolves, because primarily with Giannis not being a on-ball creator in that way that you really need like down the stretch, at least on the perimeter, like that's what Chris Middleton was. That was the thing that he brought the most value for this Milwaukee team, and was probably elevated in a way that, because of the amount of big games that he was in, and like I said, just with the unique roster construction, he was more valuable to them than anybody else. So, like I said, we're talking about depth. It would be a hard thing, but would they be willing to part with him to kind of like solidify more depth, either, bringing a B+ starter or you try to get somebody else off the bench? Because it's said $30 million for a guy that I can see averaging 12, 13 points a game. Like, it's going to be his usage in his role is going to be drastically reduced.
Man, no. I'm not getting rid of Kobe Middleton, man. He won a championship. He proved to be, he was literally like Giannis. Don't get me wrong, Giannis was Superman, but Middleton, if we go back to the tape when we was recording, he was Batman. He wasn't a Crypto the Superdog. He wasn't a sidekick. He wasn't none of that, bro. He was helping carry Milwaukee to that championship. With that being said, man, Milwaukee has the best front court in the NBA in terms of depth. They got Giannis,
Brook Lopez,
definitely top 3 in the world. Brook Lopez, solid. Bobby Portis is still coming off the bench. He can give you 20 and 10 any night.
Yeah.
So the front court is nice. And to your point, Josh, that you mentioned that Dame might not be able to play with Middleton. Dame just was able to share the rock with CJ McCollum for literally 10 years. So
I
I
wouldn't
don't
say
see a
that.
problem with that. Now the end of the game, I think Middleton's gonna have to take a step back. I mean, listen, Middleton, if he's taking the last shot, I would never be upset. But it's Damian Lillard, bro. You just gonna have to step back, give him the ball, let him cook.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, I think you brought up a really good point there, Vance, because in a lot of games we've seen, Giannis has not taken that step to become the closer of those close games because of his limited arsenal, and let's just call it what it is. So I think bringing Dame in is good for those crunch time minutes. To your point, because can Middleton do it? Yes. Has he done it before? Yes. But is he exceptional at doing it? I would never say that. Like you said, you wouldn't have a problem with Middleton taking the last shot. I wouldn't either. But would I have a problem with Chris Middleton creating the last shot? I would. So now you bring a guy in Dame who can create and make those last second clutch, you know what I'm saying, game deciding shots to pair with Giannis, a guy who's going to get his quarters 1 through 3 and midway through the fourth. And then when those defenses tighten down, limit his paint opportunities, it gets a little harder for him. So I think bringing Dame, pairing him with Chris Middleton is going to be a very nice combo. But the thing I'm concerned in losing Drew Holiday is who's going to stop them guards in the East? Who's going to get them stops? And we all know Giannis is a capable defender, but it's only so much one guy can do, especially, you know what I'm saying? Talk about Giannis, talk about Brook Lopez, a guy who's consistently in the BPOY conversation. But if you're getting constant penetration from other guards, pause, it's going to be tough to win games. But I'd like to see what y'all think about just the defensive standpoint of losing Drew Holiday.
Oh man. So when I think of like just the upper echelon teams, the only two teams that I can think of right now off the top of my head that's in the East is Miami and New York, the Knicks. So Bronson's gonna get his, don't get me wrong. But I think you'll match his scoring intake with what Dame gives you now.
Yeah.
And so if not, you get more. Dame outplays Bronson. I think right now it's probably closer to what a lot of people think. With that being said, if Middleton comes back healthy, bro, I have no problem. I think their guard play would be just fine in terms of matching the input from other teams. So Jimmy B, don't get me wrong, he's a dog, man. One of the best in the game right now. But if Middleton's coming back correct, it doesn't scare me as much because they don't have they do have Tyler Hero. Listen, Miami is the only other team that's just like, I wonder what it's going to be like when they play them. But we saw in the playoffs last year when Bam didn't have any help in the paint, which Miami has not solved anyways. Bam, they kind of limit his production. We saw that in the Boston series. It's just kind of like they was throwing big men right at him every game, every quarter. So with that being said, man, I don't think that scares me. I think Dame, what they gave up for Dame was not too much. Literally, they gave up Drew Holiday and
some role players.
Yeah, so I which can be replaced, man. So if it's me, I think it's fine.
No, I feel it. And like going back earlier, like I don't think that Dame and Chris Middleton can't play together. I'm just saying, like, in terms of what Chris Middleton does for that team and the value that they see in it, I just think that it's going to be a conversation going forward of like, okay, how much do we really need you? How much is your unique skill set going to be, utilized? I think that we're talking about the defensive stuff. Chris Middleton is not a bad defender. He's not obviously Drew Holiday, but in terms of if he's not getting the same amount of shots up or usage, if he's going to be able to be that perimeter stopper, a guy that you're going to at least throw on perimeter guys and try to slow them down, that will go a long way. And, easing those worries about perimeter defense in a way that, you don't. I mean, Grayson Allen is a good, not great defender, but you don't want that as your perimeter lockdown guy, as your main 3-and-D guy. So honestly, you talk about like the teams in the East. You got Boston, which, like I said, you got two top 10 guards in ball. Like, it's only gonna be so much you're gonna be doing with those guys, anyways. But it's not a thing to where they're just completely good at it. We've seen big threes come before, like with Brooklyn, where they kind of essentially just threw defense to the wind. It's like we're just gonna outscore everybody. So it's not a situation like this. You still got elite rim protection, and you like there's switchability on this roster to where like if you can throw Giannis out of a pick and roll and have him stay in front of a guy for a possession or two. He's not a guy that's gonna slide his feet on the perimeter. But like I said, with the rim protection, you can funnel guys to Brook Lopez in a way. So they're just not completely assed out on the defensive side of the ball. So I wouldn't see that as too much of a concern for me.
No. And so now just quick answers. will this Bucks team make the finals in the next 2 years? I'm gonna go on and say no. So
Oh wow, I'll say yes, just because it's in terms of construction, it's not the worst, but it's not the in terms of roster or try to block but the trade construction, it's not the worst we've seen, and it's three amicable guys, really. No, like I said, Brooklyn stuff where nobody got a super big head or big personality. So I would say yes.
Yeah, bro. No, I'm gonna say yes. That Dame is probably the best. Yeah, in my opinion, he's definitely top three. But some people may even say he's the best point guard in the league right now, compared with the best player, arguably in the league right now. Yes,
I
they're gonna
mean,
make it.
it would be real scary if Dame turned into George Hill, but say that for another day. So, last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. Last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. We mentioned it a little bit. Dame was supposed to go to Miami. That was the talk all summer. Dame to Miami, Dame to Miami, Dame, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo. Report just came out that one of the reasons the deal didn't go through was because Portland wanted Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo. Okay. But anyway, now that this is a Miami team that let Gabe Vincent walk, let Max Strus walk, coming off a finals appearance, how does this Miami team affected by not bringing Dame in or by not getting the Dame deal done?
I mean, you talk about everybody was praising it, rightfully so. Heat culture, being able to make stuff stake with just undrafted rookies or really relying on their development. I think they got to their head a little bit too much. I think that you talk about banking on Damian Lillard coming to this roster, kind of being willing to throw, trying to get it for pennies on a dollar with Tyler Hero and other random guys essentially. Like I think that they just banked a little bit too much on, like I was talking about earlier, that player empowerment era, and Portland just kind of not begrudgingly, but just like being at Dame's will essentially in terms of what he wants and where he's going to get to. And like I said, after the KD thing, it's not always that particular situation. These teams have agency, and they're not, like I said, they don't feel as pressure to just fall into the winds of a superstar. And I think that at Miami, just their culture, Dame being their one team, and I think that, like I said, the reports coming out that they were like the main front runners, and him, like I said, just him, like I said, the destination spot that they are, their location. I think they just got a little bit too full of themselves, a la Stephen A. Smith, and you're gonna bite them in the ass because now you got an unhappy Tyler Hero. You kind of relying on that same jump and 3-point shooting the last in terms of Jimmy Butler being dog shit during the regular season, Bam kind of carrying that team offensively, and you're relying on a very very like heavy high variance type of way of getting to the playoffs in terms of like limping in and then just turning that switch. Right. And you're not that's not a thing that can be replicable. And again, you got guys that just having their names swirling in the trade rooms for months, but they're not going to be super ecstatic to go back.
Man, I'd like to apologize to you, Nick. I remember right when literally 5 minutes ago we was talking about the best teams, the competitors in the East. I mentioned the sorry ass Knicks and not the Boston Celtics, bro. So I would like to apologize to you.
Thank you.
With that being said, Miami, they got better, but they didn't get better where they needed to get better at. They bring in Jaime Jaquez Jr. out of UCLA. They're getting back Tyler Hero from last year's playoffs. So they did get better, but they didn't get a big man. They have not solved that, bro. Bam needs help down there, man. When it gets down to the nitty-gritty and he needs help in that paint, they need somebody that's just going to be able to give them some defense, man. And they haven't solved that. So with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get out the first round this year. I think they'll get out the first round, but they're not going to get to the conference finals because they're going – no matter what, odds are they're going to have to run into Boston or they're going to have to run into the Bucks. So either way it go, if they luck out and the Bucks and Boston have to play each other in the second round, that's the only way they get to the conference finals. But I don't see it, man. No. So it's just they gotta add depth to that front court for the Heat for me to feel better about them. But they did get better, but not where they need to.
No, I definitely think they got a little bit better. They didn't get measurably better because if you look at the guards they lost, you lose your 2 starting guards. Now you're looking at starting Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero. It got so bad for them in terms of guards. They wouldn't sign R.J. Hampton, bro. That's what I'm saying. That to me, unless R.J. Hampton has that Heat culture jump, this is a team that's lacking in terms of front court creation. You can't expect Jimmy Butler, backcourt creation. You can't expect Jimmy Butler to be Hemi. I'm putting that in air quotes because I still don't believe the hype. He's a free throw merchant. You can't expect Hemi Butler to come out every game during the regular season. So I think this is going to be a team that struggles throughout the regular season, similarly to how they did last year. And I think they might find themselves on the outside looking in of the playoffs this season, especially with Udonis Haslam retired.
Nah, bro, they gonna get desperate and trade for Harden. Watch, bro. I'm telling you.
I mean, you talk about who they trade for. I mean, Drew Holiday, like I said, like being on the Blazers, like him getting flipped, that would be the only redeemable way that they could kind of salvage this. Like y'all said, like losing Struz, losing Vincent, like yeah. But Butler, like
you signed with, I didn't know he left.
He in Cleveland.
in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So now it's a thing to where I feel like going from 6-man to consistent starter, like not that Hero hasn't started before, but that's just an added level of pressure and consistency that you have to come into each game with versus being like that 6-man off the road type of thing. So relying on Kyle Lowry and Tyler Hero as your two best on-ball creators definitely ain't the move. So
I mean, bro, who's their other big? Like I'm trying to. Is it
Dwayne Dedman in that house?
Dwayne Dedman gone. They wouldn't sign Thomas Bryant this offseason.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, but you talk about defensively, like that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
somebody
watching them in that Boston series, and then Boston added a KP Porzingis. So, listen, they gonna have to make another move, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
Heat finished.
Yeah, but y'all live in Miami though, so I know y'all love it. But the basketball team, I mean, the Dolphins up right now, so at least they got that.
Nah, facts. Dolphins definitely got their get back for the finals, but they gonna have to get a whole lot more get back this NBA season. A whole lot more.
That's a fact. Like because
they gonna be in the play-in again.
Last year they was one game away from not being in the playoffs. Right?
Exactly.
Talking about like how thin the margin is. They was one missed Trae Young step back three away from none of that big playoff run.
Yeah, they had the bully, what you call a daughter, DeRozan daughter, into not coming to the game, bro, and make the playoffs.
No,
I completely forgot about that. That is sick. This sport should be getting out of hand, bro. Bro. Oh gosh, bro, you can't focus on some free throws with a little girl screaming like.
Oh man, she doing her job.
She threw that ball at her cranium, bro. I would not have been playing with her ass at all.
I'm saying that's how sick Miami. I'm surprised they ain't had somebody come out of the crowd and drop kick her. I'm saying they paying them folks a lot of money. So, but no, this we talk about how competitive the league is now. Like, not a lot of taking at the Wemby draft. Like, this could be a team like if, like you said, with Jimmy not coming out, him being like a regular season ghost essentially, and Bam still struggling to create offense on a regular basis. If they don't make a big swing, like this could be a lottery team next year, or like a bottom 4 seed in the East if things break the wrong way.
And you know Pat will blow up the team.
Nah, facts. So with that, we got a whole exciting NBA season ahead of us, and we'll see how this trade plays out. And with that, we out of here.